Hi, everyone. Welcome. I think we're about ready to start now. These are some great answers in the chat right now. The heft of the hardcover, that someone mentioned the crack of the spine. That's all really good things. Great answers. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Sam. I'm the Senior Marketing and Publicity Associate here at Tundra Book Group, aka Penguin Random House Canada Young Readers, which is a bit of a mouthful. So I always mix it up a little bit. And I'm very excited to welcome you to our Penguin Teen Social 2022. Although I wish we could have done this event in person, I'm excited to virtually hang out with you for the next little while. And I'll introduce my co-hosts in a second. But first, here's our schedule, so you know approximately what to expect. And then before we really get into everything, I wanted to start with a land acknowledgement. I think land acknowledgements are always important, but since June is National Indigenous History Month, it feels especially necessary. I'm in Mississauga, which is just outside Toronto for those of you who live in other provinces. So I'll just use the standard land acknowledgement for this area that I'm in. We would like to begin by acknowledging the land on which we gather and which the region of Peel operates is part of the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. For thousands of years, Indigenous peoples inhabited and cared for this land and continue to do so. In particular, we acknowledge the territory of the Anishinaabeg, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Ojibwe Chippewa peoples, the land that is home to the Métis, and most recently, the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, who are direct descendants of the Mississaugas of the Credit. Okay, so I know everybody's excited for all these titles. I'm super excited to get into them, so I guess we will skip right into our introductions. So like I said before, I'm Sam, my pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Senior Marketing and Publicity Associate. I'm also the one behind the scenes on the Penguin Teen Canada social media accounts, so feel free to say hi. And to answer the question we posed on the opening slide, my favorite part of a physical book is sprayed edges, which you really only get with special editions, but I am a sucker for a sprayed edge special edition. I'll go out of my way to buy one. I don't know how many of you follow Waterstones, the book chain, the bookstore chain in the UK, but they call them spreadges, which I think is just a fantastic word. And I always look forward to seeing what kind of amazing designs they put on their books. So next, I'm going to throw it to Sylvia to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Sylvia Chan. I'm the Marketing and Publicity Manager here at Penguin Random House Young Readers, and my preferred pronouns are she, her. And my favorite thing about a physical book is there's a combination and very specific. I love a book with debossing details and a matte finish. I love that soft touch. And if it's a paperback, French flaps, please. And I also run the Tundra Books social media account, so if you love picture books or middle grade, that's where you can find me. And over to Evan.
Hello. Yeah, thanks for joining us. My name is Evan Monday. I'm the publicity manager for Penguin Random House Canada's children's books. My pronouns are he and him. And in terms of physical things, as a child of the 80s, I love something that all booksellers and librarians hate, die-cut covers. I feel like it came from Flowers in the Attic with a little window, but there were so many mystery paperbacks of that era with little die-cut covers that almost immediately rip as soon as you take them out of the box, but I love how they look. But yeah, and you can catch me, I don't run any of the social media accounts, which is for the best, but you can see my personal accounts there. Thank you.
Thanks, Evan. I feel like we should also mention that Sylvia is the one who designed this PowerPoint. Evan and I sort of helped, but she did the majority of it, and her PowerPoints are always stunning. So give it up for Sylvia.
And Sam inspired the hats.
I posted one picture with a cowboy hat, and she loved it. So we just ran with it.
I mean, luckily, I dressed up as the man in the yellow hat one Halloween, so yeah.
All right, I think we're gonna start our actual book presentations now that you know a little bit more about us. I'm gonna go off camera just so you don't see me reading my notes because I look a little silly when I do that. But yeah, we have a ton of great books to tell you about today, including the reveal of our Penguin 10, which is the 10 books you need to read this fall. But before we get into YA, we wanted to chat about middle grade for a minute. So for context, Tundra Book Group is made up of 3 imprints. Tundra is mostly picture books and some middle grade. Puffin is mostly middle grade. And Penguin Teen Canada is home to Iron Widow and other YA books, I guess. I think I speak for all three of us when I say we all have a soft spot for middle grade, so we wanted to highlight our recent and upcoming middle grade titles. So, Water, Water. One morning, Rafe wakes up to find his bedroom is afloat on a vast body of water. Not the rest of his house, just him, and thankfully his dog. Rafe and his dog must navigate the strange new world and learn how to adapt, especially when they find a young girl stranded on her own little raft. Water, Water is a unique new novel by beloved author Carrie Fagan and includes wonderful illustrations by John McNaught. If you loved James and the Giant Peach, either the book or the 1996 stop-motion movie, this is the book for you. Given the recent highly publicized trial that just ended, Me 3 feels especially relevant. Rodney and his family have just moved to Arizona, except for his dad, who was left behind in Vegas. Why? Because Rodney's dad did something bad, or at least people say that he's done something bad, but what could be bad about being friendly and hugging women? Rodney is convinced this is all a misunderstanding, but over time he starts to realize he doesn't have the whole story. Susan Juby presents a powerful look at the Me Too movement and allegations from the point of view of a kid, and this makes a great conversation starter. How Do You Live is a brand new English translation of a classic Japanese novel, a novel that greatly inspired the famous filmmaker Miyazaki, who is actually working on an adaptation. After the death of his father, 15-year-old Copper turns to his uncle for wisdom. The older man guides him on a journey of philosophical discovery and offers him a reflection on what it means to be human, something that Copper needs to hear after betraying a friend and learning how to ask for forgiveness. While How Do You Live is actually a classic, originally published in 1937, The Secret Diary of Mona Hassan by debut author Salma Hussein feels like a classic in the making. It's 1991, the first Gulf War has just started, and preteen Mona's family is immigrating from Dubai to Canada. Along the way, Mona visits her cousins in Pakistan, tries her hand at poetry, experiences some culture shock, and pursues her ambition of becoming a feminist. It might actually be my favorite middle grade this year, and I can't recommend it enough. And then finally, I'm a big fan of what I call creepy middle grade, probably because I read Coraline when I was 12 and it blew my mind. The Grave Thief is not quite as creepy as Coraline. There are no button-shaped eyes, for example, but it's a fun middle grade fantasy adventure that has a little bit of a spooky twist. Spade is a grave thief, but when the queen catches him in the royal graveyard, she sends him out on a new mission, to find the Wogan, the deadly creature that stalks the castle at night. Joined by the queen's niece, Spade sets off on the adventure of a lifetime.
And this is Evan. I'm going to continue with the rest of our middle grade reads. Thanks, Sam. The first one I want to talk about is Ghostlight. Fun fact, it's the 25th anniversary of Silverwing, a book I bet many of you have read. And we are this fall publishing the next Kenneth Opal book in Canada. And it's a very spooky standalone book, much like some of the books Sam mentioned. We love ghosts and spooky things here at Penguin Random House Canada. So in Ghostlight, Gabe's summer job is scaring tourists with ghost stories. And this is a Toronto Island tale of the supernatural. So if you live in or near Toronto, the lighthouse will have special meaning to you. It's a story of a tragic death of a 16-year-old named Rebecca Strand and her lighthouse keeper father. And Gabe thinks it's just a ghost story that he tells tourists on his summer job at Toronto Island. At least that's what he thought. But then his ghost tours actually awaken Rebecca's spirit, and Gabe is drawn into a dark world where he learns about the Order, a secret society devoted to protecting the world from the wakeful and wicked dead, malevolent ghosts like Viker, the ghost who's responsible for the deaths. But now the Order has disappeared and the evil spirit Viker is back, and Gabe must join forces with his new ghost friend Rebecca to stop Viker. And while we're speaking of ghosts, you will also enjoy Double O Stephen and the Ghostly Realm by Angela Ahn. It's a book full of ghosts, pirates, and family secrets by the author of the excellent Peter Lee's Notes from the Field. Stephen loves pirates, but what he doesn't love is his last name, Stephen O. O'Driscoll. He believes when his Korean mother and Irish father gave him this hyphenated name that it was just one cruel setup for being teased throughout school. But he loves pirates. He calls it being a piranventure, someone who adventures. So when he gets in trouble for doing proper pirate training, things like using sticks to practice sword fighting, that same mother doesn't let him sit around doing nothing, and she takes him to a museum. And at that museum is where he finds himself face to face with a real, honest to goodness pirate ghost. It's the ghost of Captain Sapperton, who says he needs Stephen's help to cross to the other side. and his former ghost crew are intent on making sure Stephen follows through whatever it takes. This is a very fun pirate adventure that takes Stephen into the ghostly realm, but also closer to home, he learns about long-held family secrets and their own surprising ties to the spirit world. Spoiler alert, the women in Stephen's family are Mudangs, Korean shamans. And this is a fun adventure story for fans of Ghosts and Pirates, but also a really nice mother-son story as well. A great middle grade series is coming to its conclusion with The Final Trial, the fourth book in a royal guide to monster slaying by Kelly Armstrong. In it, Rowan embarks on an expedition to prove once and for all that she is the rightful royal monster hunter. This is the fourth and final book in this fantastic series. And Rowan finds out the true reason for the monster migration. So she's on an expedition to prove that she is worthy of the ebony monster slaying sword that's on her back. So she and her twin brother Rid, their friends Dane and Alienor, as well as some other trusted advisors and the ever-growing group of monstrous companions, are on a mission to help protect the dragon living in their homeland. It won't be easy, but being a royal monster hunter never is. And for those of you who are fans of Kelly Armstrong in this series, I'll tell you a bit more about, we have a upcoming event with her on July 7th, so stay tuned for later in the presentation for that. And another middle grade series is still going strong. The Stone Child is the third book in David Robertson's wildly popular Misawa saga, and it's the scariest one yet. For the uninitiated, the Misawa saga is a middle grade series that takes equal influence from C.S. Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia, as well as Cree folklore. Morgan and Eli are two Indigenous kids who are taken from their families and brought together in foster care in Winnipeg. They feel a total disconnection from the culture until they find a secret entrance in their unfinished attic. And the entrance takes them to another reality, a ski, where they meet a man-sized fisher, Ochek, and a sassy squirrel named Eric. And the four of them soon become embroiled in an epic quest to save Misawa from an eternal winter. So that's how The Barren Grounds, the first book in the series, starts. And when we're starting the third book, I don't want to spoil too much, but Morgan needs to help save Eli from something that happened to him. And so she has to race against the clock with Eric and Emily, and she has to journey into the northern woods, a place they've been warned never, ever to enter. But she does, and they face strange and very scary new dangers. A bit about David. This book is really beloved by readers and teachers equally. Previous books have been nominated for nearly every book award there is. And so I really recommend checking it out if you have any interest in fantasy at all. And then for budding survivalists, we have Green Mountain Academy by Frances Greenslade. This is a follow-up to her Red Fox Road, and in it, Francie finds comfort in a disaster, or after a disastrous family trip at the Green Mountain Academy, a tiny boarding school perched on the side of a mountain. So she feels like that trip to the Green Mountain Academy would be the perfect way to kind of chill after that disastrous family trip. But when a winter storm hits the academy, knocking out all the power, news that a small plane has gone missing unsettles her. And she knows that the chance of survival in the middle of nowhere for a wild nighttime snowstorm diminishes over time. So Francie is compelled to leave the cozy school and set out in the icy cold, swirling snowstorm. She knows a bit about survival, as people who have read Red Fox Road know, and these books are great for budding survivalists, like kind of like a new take on Gary Paulson's classic Hatchet. But if you aren't a budding survivalist, but instead are a budding detective, you might like the fourth and final book in the Aggie Morton Mystery Queen series, The Seaside Corpse. This is the fourth book in this series of middle grade mysteries based on the life and works of Agatha Christie. It's the third book in the series, was actually nominated for an Edgar Allan Poe Award. And in this one, the aspiring writer Aggie Morton and her best friend Hector Poirot, who is obviously in this book series, the inspiration for Hercule Poirot, are thrilled to have an opportunity to stay at a camp by the sea and watch real paleontologists at work. There's a famed husband and wife team of the Blenningham crews who are about to become even more famous with the recovery of the fossilized bones of an ichthyosaur from the sea. This news of the ichthyosaur has already caught the attention of an American millionaire, a British museum, and a traveling circus owner, each of whom wants the bones for their own collection. It's a classic ichthyosaur love quadrangle. Tensions are running high throughout the camp, and everyone is sort of tense about this ichthyosaur discovery, but they become downright dangerous after Eggy and Hector make a discovery of their own. They find not bones, but a body on the beach, and not a body of an ichthyosaur, but a human body. Less valuable to museums, but still very intriguing. So those are the middle grade reads we wanted to talk to you and about, sorry. And before we get to our summer YA recommendations, we have our first author video visit.
Hello, my name is Jasmine. I am the author of this book, TJ Power Has Something to Prove, which is my novel about a high school debater who decides to stop removing all her body hair in an effort to prove to the world, but also to herself, that she can be beautiful just the way she is. This is a book that I wrote for my teenage self. It's a book that I wish I had when I was a teenager, because I think that it would have helped me to accept myself a lot sooner than I did. And ultimately, that's what I hope for this book, is that young readers will pick it up and understand that there was never anything wrong with them, and at least that they're not alone, because body hair stigma is unfortunately very real still. So yeah, that's like a large part of my book. It's also just a fun, lighthearted book about high school debate, because debate club was one of the highlights of my high school career. So I really tried to imbue that sense of fun and camaraderie and the competition into this book as well. And it's also got a fun rivalry romance to spice things up. So yeah, that's my book. It's a lot of fun, and I hope you pick it up.
All right. I know you just heard from Jasmine, but I love this book so much, so I wanted to talk about it a little bit more. And TJ Power Has Something to Prove. There is a meme that circulates about her cousin's body hair, and TJ resolves to stop removing her own body hair to prove a point, that you can be beautiful and respected without conforming to certain beauty standards. Not only is TJ reeling from an abrupt end to her usual threading and or waxing appointments, but she finds herself falling for Charlie, a debate student from another school who she always considered her biggest rival. As a brown girl myself who knows how long it takes to remove hair from legs, the conversations about body hair and accepting yourself for who you are really struck with me. Plus, I love TJ and Charlie's budding relationship. It is super cute, and I definitely spent half the book smiling. Similarly, My Mechanical Romance is an opposites attract rom-com. After accidentally revealing her engineering skills, Belle is basically forced into joining robotics club, even though no one seems to pay attention to her during the meetings. Then Mateo, the captain of the club, realizes Belle could seriously be an asset leading up to the national championships, if only they could learn to get along with each other. Fun fact, author Alexine Farrell-Falmouth is also the author of the New York Times bestseller, The Atlas Six, under the name Olive Blake. And I'm not going to lie, part of the reason I chose this book was because I kept reading it as My Chemical Romance. So that's really all you need to know about me.
So if you watch K-dramas, let me know in the chat which ones are your favorite. You're going to sense a theme here. I started watching K-dramas in March 2020. I think you can guess what world event propelled that. So I recently read these books last month for Asian Heritage Month, and I love the crazy rich Asian aspects of it. Both books feature family secrets and will have you traveling to Korea as someone experiencing the country for the first time. And for full transparency, I'm not Korean. I just love K-dramas. So in The No Family by Grace Shim, we meet Chloe Chang, who thinks she's an only child, that her mother was an orphan and her father died in Seoul before she was even born. So she's living her life in Oklahoma, aspiring to be a fashion designer, when her friends give her a 23andMe test as a gag. The DNA test reveals an extended family who reaches out to her via the 23andMe app and invite her to visit Korea, all expenses paid. So it turns out her father's family are amongst the richest families in Seoul. So why did her mom keep this entire side a secret from her? And what's the end game with her new relatives? What does her grandmother want from her? And are her relatives trying to prevent her from inheriting the family business? She goes shopping spree after shopping spree of beautiful clothes and attends fashion shows. But yeah, we don't know. Does Chloe want to inherit Korea's luxury department store from her family? And if you watched Crash Landing on You, Chloe would be someone who was in a similar position as Yoon Seri minus the crash landing in North Korea, of course. And in I Guess I Live Here Now by Claire On, you're introduced to Melody, who's aspiring to be an interior designer and is trying to land an internship in New York. And that's before her parents make the decision to have her and her mom move back to Korea to be with her dad. And unknown to Melody, it turns out her dad is amongst the richest family in Seoul. Are we sensing a theme here yet? Her mom go from a tiny one-bedroom apartment in New York City to a spacious unit in a private villa. So if you've seen Penthouse, it would be like the mother and daughter in the show that move into the luxury building, but if all the classmates were actually nice and friendly. Korea is also known for their cafe scene, and I thought it was so clever that to have Melody make notes of all the cafe interior design. And of course, she gets to do a few room makeovers, and it's just a great story about teenage rebellion, finding love, and going after your creative dreams.
Thanks, Sylvia. So I'm going to talk about my 2 summer recommendations. The first one is the Agathas, and this is a collaboration between 2 acclaimed YA writers, Kathleen Glasgow, who did Girl in Pieces, among other books, and Liz Lawson, who's probably best known for The Lucky Ones, mainly because I can't imagine the way 2 writers work together like this. I find it very unfathomable. Unfathomable, that's a very hard word to say. In the Agathas, last summer, rich girl Alice Ogilvy's basketball star boyfriend Steve dumped her, and then Alice disappears for 5 days, not unlike, if you know anything about Agatha Christie, not unlike Agatha Christie once did herself, went missing with no real explanation. And she won't say where she went, so her story is a bit of a mystery in the town that she lives in, Castle Cove, which I feel is a very Murder, She Wrote-esque named town. Or it was at least, but there's a bigger mystery because one of Steve's newer girlfriends has vanished, Brooke Donovan, Alex's ex-best friend. So it's up to Alice and her tutor, who is of a much lower social status than her, Iris Adams, not quite as rich and has real need for the reward money, but they team up to try to solve the mystery of what happened to Brooke, especially as police suspicion falls squarely on Alice's ex, Steve. So given the name of the book, they take a page from Agatha Christie, or if you like the Martha Jocelyn series, a page from young Aggie Morton, by studying her complete works to try to solve it themselves. I'm not the only one who's recommending this book. It was also recently selected by People magazine as one of their best summaries for 2022. So I'm not alone in this, but also I love the idea that reading a lot of books could help you solve a mystery. And so the second book I want to mention is On the Subject of Unmentionable Things by Julia Walton. So the Agathas is out now, but Julia Walton's book comes out in late August 23rd. And it's a really sex-positive contemporary YA. It's about a straight-laced rule follower named Phoebe, who is kind of, in everyone's mind, a model student, model teen, but she has a secret life as Palm, who's an anonymous writer who answers teens' darkest and most challenging questions about sex in their online school newspaper. So when her column goes viral due to a former beauty queen turned right-wing mayoral candidate, things get very complicated. And this mayoral hopeful calls her column an assault on morality, and Palm/Phoebe feels pressure to reveal her identity because she's being attacked and has no way to defend herself. I just was really interested in this book, particularly as we've seen so many books being challenged across North America, especially ones that deal with sex. So I'm kind of interested in this as a contemporary sex positive story that I feel like covers a lot of the stuff that so many books that are being banned are. And I also have a personal connection to this as when I was in university, my school newspaper, The Imprint, had a controversy connected to me. I illustrated a column in their Frosh issue that was called How to Have Sex. And what it was actually a lot of valuable information about consent and about STIs and sort of who to talk to when you're uncertain about things. But they had a lot of tongue-in-cheek illustrations that looked sort of like the safety guides you get in an airplane, and that resulted in it being banned from school residences. So I felt like a personal connection to this, writing sex columns that got got ourselves in hot water. So Palm and I feel, have some parallel lives.
Thanks, Evan. We are reaching one of my favorite parts of the Penguin Teen Social, which is revealing the Penguin 10, the 10 books you need to read this fall. But before we do, just because I was looking at the chat, if any of you need to shout about Doctor Who, please hit me up, because that's all I talk about, apart from books. So literally email me. It's fine. We can have a whole conversation about it. I'm very excited about all the Doctor Who news. Anyways, back in January, the excellent site LGBTQ Reads revealed the cover for Aces Wild, and I was instantly intrigued. And then I realized that I'd actually get the chance to work on it, so of course I had to add it to our Penguin 10. Jack Shannon runs a secret blackjack ring in his private school's basement, as one does if one is the son of a Las Vegas casino mogul, I guess. But when his mother is arrested for their family's ties to organized crime, Jack is convinced that she was sold out by a rival casino owner. To prove it, he recruits his friends, all of whom he met through an asexual support group, to help him infiltrate a gambling club and uncover dark family secrets, all while falling in love while Ace for the first time. Easy peasy, right? Aces Wild comes out September 6th.
This is a contemporary YA debut from 25-year-old Chaz Hayden, who, like his main character Harris, was diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy as an infant and spent his childhood in and out of hospitals. Harris has moved to New Jersey with his family and wants to be known as more than just the kid in the powered wheelchair. So armed with his favorite getting to know you question, what's your favorite color? He'll weed out the people he deems incompatible and surround himself with outgoing yellows, adventurous oranges, and even thrilling reds. But first, he needs to find a new nurse so that his mother doesn't have to accompany him to school. And that's when we meet Miranda, a young nursing student who graduated from Harris's new high school. Beautiful, confident, and the perfect blend of orange and red, Miranda sees Harris for who he really is. Funny, smart, and totally worthy of the affections of Nori Fisher, the cute girl who's in almost all of his classes. So with Miranda at his side, Harris soon befriends geeky Xander, whose favorite color is yellow, and even makes headway with Nori, who stubbornly refuses to reveal her favorite color. And that's when Harris starts to notice that Miranda is fighting her own demons, and he starts to wonder if she truly has his best interests at heart.
Okay, so a little bit of a spoiler alert. The next 3 titles, I think, are all me, but I'm super stoked about all 3 of them. Every year when I put together the Penguin 10, it's so hard to pick just 10 books because there's so many amazing titles, but these ones really, really stood out to me, and I hope that you'll all find something that you love in this list as well. So every time I read the summary for the 99 Boyfriends of Micah Summers, it charms me even more. Micah is constantly crushing on guys, but is always too nervous to ask them out. So instead, he draws sketches of each new crush and posts them on Instagram, sort of like a missed connections type of thing. After 99 imaginary boyfriends, Micah meets someone who might actually be the perfect fit for his first real-life boyfriend. Except after a chance encounter on the subway, the guy rushes off the train before Micah can get his number, leaving behind his pumpkin-embroidered leather jacket. Can Micah and his friends use the jacket to track down Boy 100? We'll find out when the book comes out on September 20th. We don't have too many details for Eternally Yours yet, but as soon as I heard paranormal romance anthology, I knew this was a must-read. Edited by Patrice Caldwell, who also tackled the sci-fi fantasy anthology A Phoenix First Must Burn a couple of years ago, these are love stories about vampires, merpeople, angels, and demons written by some of the best in YA, including Chloe Gong, Adib Karam, Casey McQuiston, Zendaya Menon, and more. This one is also out on September 20th, so basically what I'm saying is no one talked to me that day. How to Succeed in Witchcraft was pitched to me as Sabrina the Teenage Witch meets Never Have I Ever, and honestly consider me sold. Shay Johnson is determined to win a scholarship to the magical university of her dreams, but she's up against her rival, Anna Alvarez. To make matters worse, their drama teacher, Mr. B, pits them against each other in the school musical. But Shay starts to realize Anna isn't as bad as she thought. Then Mr. B starts to pay some unwanted attention to Shay, and when she realizes that other witches have experienced this too, she has to decide if she can come forward and speak out. How to Succeed in Witchcraft comes out September 27th, and I already know it will be my first read for spooky season.
I just love that there's a book that involves witches and a musical. I want to tell you about Well, That Was Unexpected by Jessie Q. Sutanto. So this is a YA novel from an author of the wildly popular and very fun mystery Dial A for Aunties, which is kind of like, if you haven't read it, it's like if the aunties from Turning Red were part Indonesian and solving a murder instead of turning into magical red pandas. It's a really great mystery, so funny. And Jessie has now written a very funny rom-com that follows Charlotte Citra, who's whisked away from her native Los Angeles to her mother's country, Indonesia, after she finds herself in a bit of a minor scandal. And while she's there in Indonesia, she finds herself roped into dating a young man by the name of George Clooney Tanujaya, the wealthy son of a celebrity-obsessed father. So what happens is the way they're set up is amazing. The kids are set up into a relationship by their overly meddling parents because the parents pretend to be each of their kids online and start a conversation with each other, pretending to be their kids and set themselves up on a date. So while Charlotte and George Clooney are both horrified to find this out, they decide to meet anyway, and maybe they'll find true love. The other thing is that while Charlotte is there, she's finding a lot more about her mother's roots in Indonesia. So it's a kind of combination of a really fun fake dating rom-com, but also a journey, kind of coming of age and learning about, your mother's family and where you come from at the same time.
You might know Frederick Joseph as the author of The Black Friend on Being a Better White Person, which was an instant New York Times bestseller and received 4-star reviews. He is also an award-winning activist, philanthropist, and marketing professional. He was named to Forbes 30 Under 30 list and was selected for the Route 100, an annual list of the most influential African Americans. For his second YA book, he is partnering with his wife, Portia Joseph, who is a developmental professional and writer and former educator who has worked many years in philanthropy and the nonprofit sector. And without further ado, here are Fred and Portia to tell you about Better Than We Found It, another essential guide addressing some of today's most pressing issues.
Hey Penguin team, I'm Portia Joseph.
And I'm Fred Joseph, and we're the authors of the book Better Than We Found It.
And we're super excited to have been selected as a Penguin 10 title.
Better Than We Found It is a love letter from us to the possibility for the world. It's a book that covers subjects from healthcare to anti-racism, gun violence, and important things like climate change.
And we have some really amazing people who are featured in the book as well, such as Elizabeth Warren, Nick Stone, Julian Castro, Chelsea Clinton, and a whole bunch of other really amazing folk.
Yeah, we know that the amazing people that are in this book, combined with some of the stories that we're telling, is going to make a change. We believe that every reader is going to have the opportunity to, quite frankly, make the world a better place than we all found it. So we're hoping that you all enjoy the book, and we hope that it helps you feel empowered to go out there and shake things up and really make things better.
Hello again. Sorry about the slight technical difficulties of that video. That was my fault entirely. The next book in the Penguin 10 is We Are All We Have by Marina Butos. When a teenage girl's single mom is taken by ice, everything changes. All her hopes and dreams for the future and more immediately an awesome summer have turned into pure survival. Once her mother is taken by ICE, Reina and her brother Kamal and their new friend Carlos head out on a road trip to search for answers and discover secrets in a country full of contradiction. Budos is a YA author whose work often focuses on social issues in a really contemporary way. Her previous book, The Long Ride, followed three girls of mixed race during the school integration battle in the 1970s, and it was a really interesting look at that civil rights era. And now she's taking on a more contemporary civil rights issue, looking at the pain and tragedy that ICE causes so many families in the United States. I think it's a really interesting book, one with a really important message, and I also liked it, much like how Sam misread My Mechanical Romance as My Chemical Romance so many times. I like that this book maybe takes its name from the title of an album by old school punk band The Casualties. Maybe not, but they're the same. So I'm really excited to check this one out.
Oh, sorry, that's me. I was looking at Twitter, but I promise it was work Twitter. It wasn't just fun Twitter. All right, first of all, can we take a second to appreciate the gorgeous cover of the Vermilion Emporium? It really reflects the lush romantic story inside. So what's it about? A mysterious curiosity shop arrives in town. There, Quinta, the daughter of a circus performer, meets Twain, a lonely boy who uses his charms to hide his scars. After the two of them discover a book that teaches them to weave starlight into lace, their newfound talents catch the eye of the ruler of the town, who commissions them to make her a starlight lace dress. But they can't find any more starlight. As they search the Vermilion Emporium for answers, they discover there may be a good reason why starlight has been kept hidden all these years. Join me in visiting the Vermilion Emporium, which is a very hard word to say, when it comes out on November 1st.
So many tongue twisters for titles these days. And so this is the final book on our Penguin 10 this year, or this fall. It's Nubia, The Awakening. Omar Epps, maybe you know him from Higher Learning, from O, from Scream 2, from Love and Basketball. Maybe you know him as Dr. Eric Foreman, no relation to the guy from that 70s show, on House. Well, now he has teamed up with writer Clarence A. Haynes to make one of the biggest epic fantasies of the year. I feel like it's equal parts Black Panther and X-Men in terms of comics, even though it's not a comic itself. It's the first of a series, and it's a powerful saga about three teens. Their names are Zuberi, Ozochi, and Lencho, and they're the children of refugees from a fallen African utopia who must navigate newfound powers in a climate-ravaged New York City. So in this sort of alternate reality, Nubia was a utopic island nation off the coast of West Africa. It was destroyed in a massive storm that was obviously influenced by climate change. And the surviving Nubians who survived that disaster now live as outcasts around the world in a diaspora struggling to survive. And our three teens that the book focuses on live in the constantly flooding lower half of Manhattan, while the richer echelon of Manhattan thrive in a tech-driven sky city that's known as the Up High. But our three teens soon discover that they have their own special powers that seem to be connected to their Nubian inheritance. So all the Nubian diaspora seem to be inheriting these special powers, not unlike the X-Men, and see how they can use them to sort of make their way in this climate-ravaged future. I think it's really excited, and also really exciting to have Omar Epps be one of the writers. I know there are a lot of celebrity children's books, but I don't think there are a lot of celebrity YA, or not nearly as many, and he seems really involved. I know he's doing even some teen festivals in the US and is really excited. So it's nice to see how invested he is in this book. It sounds like it's going to be really exciting. And so that was our Penguin 10, but we're going to, I feel like we're moving very fast. I apologize for that. But we also wanted to talk about some of our upcoming events. And before we start our upcoming events, we have one more author video. And that author video is from E. Lockhart, who is the author of We Were Liars and the brand new prequel, Family of Liars. So I'm just going to show you her video right now.
Hi, Penguin Teen Social. It's E. Lockhart. I'm the author of We Were Liars, Genuine Fraud, Again, and most recently, Whistle, a New Gotham City Hero, which is a graphic from DC Comics. I'm here to tell you today about my newest book. It's called Family of Liars. It debuted last week on the New York Times bestseller list at number 2, so I'm psyched about that. And We Were Liars, if you don't know it, is an amnesia story and a thriller and a tragic love story set on a private island off the coast of Massachusetts. It's owned by the Sinclair family. And this book takes you 27 years earlier and gives you another summer on that same island, when 3 Sinclair sisters have their lives upended by the arrival of literally a boatload of cute boys and one girl. It's a thriller. It goes very, very dark, and I hope it surprises people. I want to say thank you for sharing my books with your clients and your readers and your community. It's so important to me, and I really appreciate it. I hope you have a really fun time at Penguin Teen Social over there in Canada. And I'm here in Brooklyn on my roof, and I wish I could be there with you.
I enjoyed that she said, on my roof. I think it was pretty clear she was on a roof, but a very clean roof, as Sylvia pointed out earlier. The roof, I went up on the roof of this building, it would not be like that. And I also can't remember the last time my life was last upended by a boatload of cute boys. So I have to check out Family of Liars. But exciting for those of you who are E. Lockhart fans, or even if you are not, E. Lockhart will actually be in Toronto. So she'll be here in Canada this weekend. She's talking with Courtney Summers at the Motive Festival, which is the Toronto International Writers Festival's summer mystery and thriller festival. And she'll be talking about Family of Liars, and I think also We Were Liars, with the author of Sadie. It's just 2 blockbuster YA mystery authors in the same place at the same time. It's very excited, and yeah, so that will be happening this Sunday in Toronto. And if you can't make it, we will be going around to, I think she's going to be visiting a few local Indigos in Toronto and signing some stock as well on the weekend. Some other upcoming events in Kingston, Ontario, at Novel Idea. It's a launch for the highly anticipated YA book, TJ Power Has Something to Prove by Justine Caudillo. This, as you remember, is one of Sam's summer picks. So we're very excited, and it's always nice to have events in Kingston as well. Sam also wanted to point out that if you aren't in Kingston, or especially if you're in the GTA, anywhere near Toronto, Justine will be doing some store visits to Queen Books and to Another Story. So if you are interested in getting signed or personalized copy of this book, you should let either of those stores, Queen Books or Another Story Books, know by this Thursday. And then next weekend, oh, I gotta advance the slide. Next weekend, the Word on the Street Festival happens, and it's an outdoor book festival in Toronto at Queen's Park Circle again. So Word on the Street has been happening virtually for the past couple of years, but it is now back in person, and it's earlier in the year. Normally it happens in September. It's happening in early or mid-June this time, and it's back at Queen's Park Crescent, which is the kind of circle that kind of is in the middle of the University of Toronto in the city. And this year we have a bunch of middle grade and YA authors there, including Salma Hussein, who's The Secret Diary of Mona Hassan. Sam told you about earlier when we were talking about our middle grade titles. H.N. Khan will be reading his YA book, Wrong Side of the Court, which came out earlier this year, which is a great basketball Toronto story. Jason Lee, whose book, The Handmoji Handbook, doesn't come out just yet, but Jason Lee himself is a digital designer, and the Handmoji Handbook is a book that, if used properly, can teach you Chinese through the use of emoji, or that's what it attempts to do. And Jason Lee himself is a emoji designer, and we'll be talking a lot about sort of what goes into designing emojis and things like that. Sorry, I'm going to go back the 2 slides before for JV as requested, and then I'll return to talk about Nathan Page and Drew Shannon. Whoop. To this slide. If you're interested in this event, if you go to the Toronto International Festival of Authors website, they have details on this event and all the others. The other 2, this one. And then hopefully that was enough time. Back to the word on the street. The final YA authors we want to talk about are Nathan Page and Drew Shannon. They're the graphic novel team behind the Montague Twins books. So there are 2 books in the series so far, The Witch's Hand and The Devil's Music. They're kind of like Hardy Boys books meets supernatural mysteries in a small town, and they're a lot of fun. So they'll be talking about those Montague Twins titles with another comic writer, Stephanie Cook. And then the last event we wanted to mention, it's one of our middle grade titles, but as I hinted at before, we're going to be celebrating the final book in Kelly Armstrong's A Royal Guide to Monster Slaying, The Final Trial, at the Kitchener Indigo, the Fairway Mall. She'll be in conversation with another author, Kevin Sands, who you might know from his Blackthorn Key series or the Children of the Fox series. So he'll be interviewing her. They'll be doing a Q&A and a book signing. So if you're in the Kitchener or KW area, please check that out. And now, something I'm sure many of you are hoping would happen, it's giveaway time. So Sylvia, do you want to come on and tell us how we're doing these giveaways?
I think it's Sam.
I mean, I can do it. I'll do it. All right. So what we're going to do is there are 3 prize packs, and each of the prize packs consists of one of our two summer YA picks. And so we're going to pick the first winner. The first winner gets to choose whichever of these 3 prize packs they want the most. And then the second winner will get to choose from the remaining 2. And then the third person will get the one that remains. But how we're going to pick is, I believe Sam is going to madly scroll up and down on the participants list. And
Yes,
who's,
I am.
And who's good?
We're so high tech.
We're very high tech. Last time we did trivia and we were like, that sounds like a lot of work, I guess. So now it's just going to be really chaotic. But Sylvia, are you going to shout?
I'm going to be the one shouting stop while Sam scrolls.
Okay. So I'll mute myself and then somebody say, are you already started, Sam? Or maybe you should say start and stop, Sylvia.
I was just going to say, I'm ready to go when you are, Sylvia.
Okay. Start. Stop.
Okay. Jill Jemmett is our first winner.
Ooh, congrats, Jill.
Jill, can you tell us in the chat which prize pack you would like most?
Yes, she picked
Number
mine.
2.
Solid
Sylvia
choice.
wins. No.
Okay, Sam, are you ready?
Yep.
Start. Stop.
Ooh. We've got Maddie.
Maddie, can you tell us in the chat? Congratulations first. And then tell us in the chat, which would you prefer, number 1 or number 3?
I love how supportive everyone is. I can just see all the congrats bubbles popping up. Oh yes, it's Maddie S. September.
I was gonna say what is
Just to clarify, sorry. She's the only Maddie that's on here, so I figured it was fine.
We love chaos.
Yeah. I was also just wondering if like somebody steps out to the bathroom and then doesn't. Prize pack 1.
Excellent.
All right. Nobody likes my prize pack. That's fine. All right. Sylvia.
Okay, start and stop.
It almost landed on Jill again. But the name right under Jill is Jordana.
Jordana. I assume, is there only one Jordana here tonight? All right. Congratulations, Jordana.
Congrats. I can put my email address in here and just in the chat.
There's 2 Jordanas.
Or was there 2 of them? Oh, hold on. Let me see which Jordana it was. It was Jordana with no last name.
Okay.
Sorry. I didn't see the second Jordana. Apologies.
You know what? I think we should just give it to both Jordanas.
I'm totally
Yeah.
But yes, I will put my email address in the chat, and the winners, if you could just shoot me an email today or tomorrow, and we can make sure we send your prize packs out. Right before we end, because we are almost done, but I did see that we have a question in our Q&A. What can you say about the PRH Penguin Parody account on Twitter? I don't know who that is, but I do find it hilarious. I'm not offended by it at all. It makes me laugh. The first time I saw it, I think I shared it with Evan and Sylvia because I just couldn't stop scrolling through it. But I have no idea who it is behind the scenes there.
Sam's just saying that because she signed an NDA.
I'm not allowed to share who it is.
They're also, I'm not sure how we answer these folks, but there are 2 people who have raised their hands. Liz and Amanda at Brains, Books, and Brawn. If you have a question, can you put that into the Q&A? Because I think that's the only way we can really answer those.
Unless it's an accident.
Okay, if it's
Hand raise, it happens sometimes.
if it's an accident, then don't worry about it. I can lower your hands.
Oh, Carly, you don't know what the parody can is? Oh, it's so funny. Hold on, let me see if I could grab a link for you, unless someone else is faster than me. Yeah, take a couple of minutes to just scroll through that because it cracks me up. Well, I guess this was a lot faster than we expected. I think we'd originally booked it for 2 hours, but I see how we all talked a lot faster and only got it down to just under an hour. But does anyone else have any other questions, or did you want to just chill for a bit?
And of course, I can just put on the final slide and then put on the music, and we can just chill for at least a little while.
Everyone who came last year recalls the after hours dance party where we just kind of sat around for a little while. It was good times.
Whoops.
Well, thank you all for attending. I hope next year we can do this in person, or there might be another opportunity to see your faces at some point, but it's always a good time. And thank you all for coming. I will see you online.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And yeah, we really hope to see you in person next time.